My day always starts with a smell of antiseptic and river rain. But today the air tastes electric. Night shift just rolled a new admit into room 504. Female, mid-20s, rollover crash, bilateral hand reconstruction. And the whispered add-on, permanent blindness. I read the chart twice before I crack the door. Good morning, I say, letting my voice land first. I'm Alana Bennett, charge nurse. I'm stepping inside, 3 long strides, 10 o'clock from your bed. The woman turns toward my words. Even clouded, her eyes are startling. Silvered topaz like sunlit water flashed into glass. Noted, she answers, her contralto smooth but brittle at the edges. Cassidy Blake. Formerly of the New Orleans Blue Note Quartet. Currently, stuck. Take her pulse. It thunders faster than her voice betrays. Rain's easing, I mention while the cuff inflates. You can still hear the Columbia foghorn if you crack the window. She laughs once, soft. Describe it. The foghorn. No, the rain. Give me colors. I pause, stethoscope against her arm. Slate dripping into charcoal at the edges. Streetlights turn the drops molten orange before they hit the pavement. Her shoulders loosen, as if the picture paints warmth around her. I finish vitals, chart the numbers, then hesitate. Protocol says move on. 6 more rooms wait. But grief in those pale eyes pulls at something I buried long ago. So I break the first smallest rule. May I sit? Cassidy nods. I take the visitor chair, leave 3 feet of air. A buffer she can feel but not crash against. The occupational therapist will be by at 2, I say. They'll work finger flexion, start braille orientation. Braille. Her mouth twists. They might as well hand me a shovel for my own career's grave. Careful, I tease gently. We OTs do miracles, just not the jazz club variety. Silence grows roots. I almost stand when she speaks, quieter. Was there a girl's name on my intake? I flip pages I've already memorized. Next of kin. Olivia Blake, 23. Deceased at scene. A tear escapes before she can wipe it. The bandages make dabbing clumsy. Instinct overrides policy. I catch the tear with sterile gauze, my fingers barely grazing her cheek. Instead of flinching, she leans, like the tiniest tilt might keep her from drowning. My sister was the stubborn half of me, she whispers. Now there's half a song with no melody. Swallow. Images of Evan. My autistic brother tumbling in river water because an aide missed the shift schedule. Flash hot behind my eyes. Half a song can still be sung, I manage. Sometimes you change the key. Cassidy's lips quirk. Poetic nurse. Dangerous combination. A knock rescues me. Janet, my supervisor, sticks her head inside. Her ice blue scrubs broadcast hurry. Alana, meds round behind by 12 minutes. On it. Arise. Cassidy, I'll be back around noon. You need anything before then? Tell me the rain again when you return, she says. Colors help me pretend the world isn't black. I nod, heart thudding with a promise I don't yet understand. Lunch finds me stealing 5 minutes on the fire escape balcony. Wind lashes hair against my mouth. The drizzle is cold silver now, nothing like charcoal. I'm replaying her voice when an idea sparks. It's reckless, but those silver topaz eyes haunt me. I sneak to volunteer services, sign out the old Casio keyboard kids use on holidays, and smuggle it under a blanket cart to 504. Inside, Cassidy sits rigid, hands fisted beneath blankets. I announce each movement, set the Casio on the overbed table, power on. It's missing a few black keys, I admit, and the sustain pedal sticks, but it makes sound. Cassidy's breath catches. I can't play. My fingers seize halfway through scales. Then play wrong, I say. Wrong notes count as living. She touches ivory, hesitant, tremor small. One low E thuds out of tune. She winces, but her second press is cleaner. A third finds a minor. And suddenly she spins a 4-note motif. Broken, beautiful, unfinished. I close my eyes, let the melody paint color behind my eyelids. He stops. What did it look like? Pale dawn over the Willamette, just before sunlight kisses the water. Cassidy exhales a small, startled laugh that morphs into a sob. I thought the sun was gone for me. It's there, I promise. We'll map it in sound if we have to. She reaches across the keys, bandaged, shaking, and finds my wrist exactly like she aimed. Skin to skin ignites a pulse I shouldn't feel. Her thumb traces my pulse line. Stay, she says. One word, raw plea. The hallway monitor chirps. My pager, meds overdue. Pull back. I have to run. But I'll come after shift, colors loaded. As I leave, she calls. Alana. Pause at the threshold. Thank you for letting the wrong notes live. I smile into the corridor where no one sees. Wrong notes, right reasons. I suspect both our lives just changed key. PM. The ward sleeps except for ventilator sighs. I slip into 504 with a mug of peppermint tea and a contraband metronome. Cassidy's awake, fingers ghosting silent chords on the blanket. Rain's stopped, I whisper. Sky's obsidian. The street lamps carve copper halos on the wet asphalt. Copper halos, she repeats, tasting the words. Play me their rhythm. I set the metronome to a lazy 68 BPM. Tap tabletop syncopations. Cassidy matches, building harmony from beating hearts and ticking gears. Minutes blur. The room fades until only sound exists. When the metronome clicks off, stillness roars. She reaches blindly, and this time I don't hesitate. Our fingers interlace. Bandage, callus, antiseptic, rain memory. Electricity snaps through me. Tell me the color now, she murmurs. Crimson. I breathe, unable to lie. Her lips curve. She leans forward, guided by the tremor in our joined hands. I feel her breath feather mine. An almost kiss suspended in darkness. Footsteps echo outside. We jerk apart just as Janet's silhouette fills the doorway. She frowns at the keyboard, the metronome, our flushed faces. Nurse Bennett, my office. Now. Cassidy's hand clutches air where mine was. My heart freefalls while Janet's shoes scissor us apart. I follow orders, but as the door swings shut behind me, I hear Cassidy whisper into the dark. Don't change the key without me. And I know the melody we've started won't survive silence. Something inside me decides. Tonight I'll fight every protocol, every warning to keep the song alive. Gravel gray dawn creeps over the Columbia when Janet slams the disciplinary file on her desk. The fluorescent light makes every smudge on the laminate table look radioactive. She reads infractions like a metronome gone mad. Unauthorized therapeutic device, unscheduled after-hours visitation, failure to administer 0630 meds on time. I breathe through my nose. Count 2 beats between each accusation. Picture Cassidy's hands on ivory to keep from exploding. Janet's verdict is swift. 2-week probation, 0 overtime, 15-minute cap per patient. One more step out of line, she warns. And compliance will draft the termination papers before lunch. Outside her office, the hallway seems narrower, as if the walls heard the sentence and drew in to watch. A resident pushes a med cart past. Earbuds in, oblivious. I wonder how he'd feel if someone welded his stethoscope shut. Room 504 waits like a note held too long. I announce myself, cross the floor, and sense Cassidy's shoulders tighten at my changed tone. I log her vitals in clinical bursts. Blood pressure stable, oxygen 98. I don't tell her about probation, but she hears it anyway in the spaces where conversation used to live. She whispers, "Someone clipped your wings." I force a smile she can't see. Temporary turbulence. Temporary feels permanent to people left in the dark. I slip out before my mask cracks. The Casio keyboard is gone. Janet confiscated it, yet its ghost echoes in every beep and tick of the ward. Mid-morning a storm front rolls in. Barometric alarms chirp as sinuses swell and joints scream. Cassidy refuses physio. The therapist leaves fuming. I enter for meds, she turns away. The rain's pewter, I murmur, setting pills on her tray. The drops bounce like ball bearings off the sill. The The gutters sound like low tom-toms. She doesn't reach for the water cup. Tell me the music of it. My probation clock ticks loud in my head. 15 minutes. Compliance cam. Janet's eyes on every monitor. But rules don't slow pulse. I tap a finger rhythm on the mattress. Slow, slow, quick. Triplet rest. Syncopated answer. Cassidy's bandaged hand inches toward the beat. Finds the sheet. Matches my pattern. 2 blind palms drumming risers into rhythm. A secret duet within protocol. I clear my throat, pick up the pill cup, guide it to her fingers. She swallows without comment, but the drumming continues even after I'm gone. Next day, a new antagonist appears. Dr. Russell Hart, chief of rehab, imported from Johns Hopkins with a resume thicker than the Portland phone book. He reviews Cassidy's file during rounds, frowns at the blank progress column, and decides aggressive intervention is the cure. Voice-activated screen readers, braille drills, a rigid dressing schedule. Fine tools wielded like sledgehammers. He addresses Cassidy as if she's a malfunctioning instrument. Results, Ms. Blake. Every day you retreat is neuroplasticity lost. She turns her clouded gaze toward his voice. A cracked violin doesn't play Paganini at gunpoint. Hart doesn't flinch, only scribbles non-compliant bigger on the chart. That evening I find Cassidy standing. No swaying, at the window, one hand on the sill, the other tracing raindrop vibrations through cold glass. She startles when I speak. Vertigo tips her sideways. Instinct overrides probation. I catch her waist, steady her against me. The contact sends a low-voltage hum through both of us. I used to measure stage dimensions by footsteps, she confesses, forehead near my collarbone. Now every room is endless. We'll chart it together, I promise. 1 foot, 2 beats, always landing on home. Home vanished with the headlights, she says, voice breaking. I guide her back to bed. Before leaving, I slip a contraband object from my pocket, a battered metronome key. I press it into her palm. When the room feels infinite, wind this and count the ticks. They belong to you. Her fingers curl around the metal. So do you. I step into the hall, lungs full of thunder I haven't yet earned the right to exhale. Friday detonates early. Marjorie Blake, Cassidy's mother, strides into the unit wrapped in cranberry cashmere and indignation. 2 private security men flank her like parentheses. She demands a conference. Doctor, legal liaison, head nurse and me, the overattached RN. Her verdict. Cassidy transfers to a high-tech blind rehab institute in California. Departure Sunday. Paperwork already notarized. The room spins. Only my chair keeps me upright. Hart nods approvingly. Janet studies her coffee. I open my mouth, but the attorney reminds us non-family have 0 standing. Meeting adjourned. My heart stays seated long after my body stands. I find Cassidy mid-braille drill, hands stiff, jaw set. I kneel, speak low. Your mother's moving you Sunday. She absorbs the sentence like a blow, fingers tightening on the embossed page until the dots flatten. I'll fly down, I stammer. Visit on days off. Smuggle Steinways in suitcases. She shakes her head. California is 6 states of protocol. Silence swells. She fumbles for my wrist, finds my pulse. What color is the sky? Swallow a sob. Gunmetal, rimmed in gold at the horizon. Sounds like goodbye. No, I squeeze her hand. Sounds like dawn fighting back. She lifts our joined hands to her lips, kisses my knuckle, lightning under skin. Then fight with me, Alana. 15-minute buzzer jolts overhead. My probation leash yanks. I stand robot straight, leave without another word. In the doorway I look back. Her sightless eyes aim at the sound of my breath, and the distance between us feels wider than the continent her mother chose. Saturday night. I clock out at 1900, but instead of heading home I slip into the volunteer chapel. There's an upright piano, out of tune but alive. I record a voice memo. For Cassidy, colors of Portland rain. I play clunky chords mapped to hues. Slate, charcoal, copper, pewter, gunmetal, gold. Each progression anchors a memory of the week. At dawn I text the audio to a disposable phone I tuck into her discharge packet with a single line. Wrong notes still live. Sunday noon. Transport services wheel Cassidy toward the elevator. Mother in designer armor close behind. Cassidy's fingers toy with the metronome key on a chain around her neck. She doesn't speak, but as she passes the nurse's station her head turns fractionally, zeroing on my heartbeat among the monitor's choir. I'm not allowed near, but I mouth Dawn fights back. Her lips form a silent chord, maybe C major, maybe Alana, before the doors close, severing the song mid-phrase. Back at my locker, a pink slip waits atop my scrubs. Probation failed, termination effective immediately. The last line blurs. Boundaries irreparably compromised. I stuff the slip in my pocket, yank off the hospital badge, and walk out into rain that tastes like iron and rebellion. Cassidy heads south. I head nowhere, yet every step drums the same refrain. Fight with me. Some wars aren't waged in operating rooms or board meetings. Some begin the moment two wrong notes decide they were meant to be a symphony. Alana spends her first week of freedom pacing her apartment to the rhythm of the rain that won't let up, counting the beats of the metronome key Cassidy pressed into her palm the night before she left. Unemployment paperwork stacks on the kitchen counter, but Alana ignores every envelope. Her focus narrows to a single point on the map. Monterey Bay, California, home to the Seabright Institute for Blind and Low Vision Rehabilitation. She hawks the last of her vacation days cash out on a cheap bus ticket south, telling herself she's only going to make sure Cassidy's safe. Though every mile of Highway 101 drums a different truth, she cannot breathe until she hears Cassidy's voice again. 40 hours later, road dusty and sleepless, Alana stands across the street from Seabright's manicured campus, watching gulls wheel over red tile roofs. Visitors' hours don't begin until 10, so she kills time at a pier cafe, sketching a battle plan on napkins that smell of salt and burnt espresso. Plan A, apply as a volunteer music aide. Dies when the receptionist tells her there's a 6-month background check. Plan B, pretend to be media researching adaptive arts, is torpedoed by a PR flack with a laminated do not interview list that starts with Patient C. Blake. Desperation births Plan C. She buys a bouquet of sunflowers from a boardwalk stall, borrows a white cane from a lost and found bin, and wobbles to the entrance in faux blindness, betting Seabright staff will guide her straight through security. The gamble works until a guard scans her ID badge from Riverside. Flagged, suspended. Alana braces for handcuffs, but before backup arrives a voice she knows better than her own rings out. She's with me. Cassidy strides into the lobby like thunder dressed in charcoal linen, a mobility instructor at her elbow and the metronome key glinting at her throat. Her clouded eyes don't track Alana, yet every turn of her head feels laser-precise. Staff freeze, unsure whether to obey the patient or the policy sheet. Cassidy solves the stalemate by looping her arm through Alana's and declaring, "Therapy session private," with a confidence that brooks no refusal. 20 seconds later they're alone in a sunlit practice studio that smells of varnished spruce and ocean wind. A grand piano dominates the room. Its lid stands open like a black wing ready to beat the sky. Cassidy closes the door, presses her forehead to Alana's, and both women tremble so hard the sunflowers drop between them. Words tangle on their tongues, apologies, accusations, prayers, but Cassidy breaks the knot first. "Your song kept me alive on the drive," she whispers, fingers brushing Alana's cheek as if mapping new topography. "Wrong notes still living exactly where you said." In that moment, Alana understands that love can reroute itself through any darkness so long as the melody survives. Their reunion, though, is a clock already ticking toward explosion. Seabright's director, Dr. Kingsley, summons Alana to an administrative cubicle the size of a confession booth. He's reviewed the Oregon Board's findings. He knows about the boundary violations, the termination. "You're a liability," he states, adjusting tortoiseshell glasses. Cassidy's progress hinges on routine and detachment. Alana retorts that progress measured in detached metrics is still a kind of paralysis, but Kingsley silences her with a visitor's badge stamped 1 hour limit. Any further presence requires the family's written consent. Alana leaves the office with exactly 59 minutes and 2 choices: retreat or rewrite the terms. She chooses the latter, drafting a handwritten letter to Marjorie Blake in the facility courtyard, ink smudging in the coastal mist. Your daughter's breakthrough began when someone described the color of rain. Please grant her the palette she chooses to heal. She delivers it to the front desk, unsure it will ever reach its target. Days slide by in tides. Each dawn Alana waits outside the gates clutching that single-hour badge, spending every minute in the studio where Cassidy's world has narrowed to sound and scent. Blindness has sharpened the pianist's intuition. She senses staff disapproval in the way the room's air tightens whenever Alana enters, senses her mother's endless fear in the tremble of fresh lilies left at the bedside. Yet nothing sways her from the daily ritual she calls color lessons. Alana sits on the piano bench, describing the Monterey sky in chromatic scales. Sunrise starts with muted rose, modulates to apricot, crashes into cobalt where the sea kicks up, while Cassidy translates the hues into improv riffs that flutter, stumble, then soar. Other patients drift to the doorway, hypnotized. A few limp in on walkers, a few tap along on borrowed shakers. The nurses glare, but Kingsley can't deny the metrics. After each session Cassidy's blood pressure steadies, her sleep hours lengthen, and, most remarkable, she's begun walking unassisted, counting steps in sync with a metronome key. The program director schedules a family conference. Alana sits at one side of a sterile boardroom table. Marjorie Blake sits at the other, pearls clicking like worry beads. Kingsley presents data charts proving Cassidy's upward trend since arrival, then warns of emotional enmeshment risks posed by Alana's involvement. Marjorie's lawyer advises severing contact, citing liability and headline fallout. Alana listens, heart hammering, until a memory of Evan's gravestone surfaces, the stone no chart could prevent, and she speaks. She tells them about the boy who drowned in silence, about a system that treated his needs as risk lines on a spreadsheet, about the night Cassidy's hands found broken chords and spun them into dawn. She doesn't beg permission to love Cassidy. She demands their courage to acknowledge that love as medicine. Something in the room shifts. The lawyer looks away first. Then Kingsley sighs the sigh of a man conceding ground unfamiliar. Marjorie's eyes brim but don't break. She asks one question only. Will you keep my daughter safe from her own hope? Alana answers. I'll keep her safe with her hope. And for the first time mother and nurse discover common language. Consent forms sign with clauses. Supervised collaboration, documented goals, monthly family reviews. Alana isn't reintegrated as a nurse. Her license's reinstatement hearing looms months away, but she's hired as an adaptive auditory consultant, a title no HR manual yet defines. She moves into a rental studio above a bait shop, scraping by on procession pay. But every night she walks the foggy shore replaying the day's music through wind-chapped headphones, letting optimism tune her stride. Cassidy, meanwhile, evolves. She learns to map hallways by the pitch of fluorescent fixtures, identifies strangers by the cadence of breathing, and coaxes a reluctant teenage client named Jordan, mute since a fireworks trauma, into tapping rhythms on a cajon until syllables follow. Staff begin quoting her in team meetings. Sound is just color you can hold in your chest. Kingsley, slow to warm, requests a demonstration for Seabright's board. Cassidy agrees on one condition, that Alana accompany on second piano, wrong notes and all. Performance day finds the Institute's lecture hall packed with donors, clinicians and skeptics. Cassidy walks on stage unguided, cane folded, trusting the echo of applause to steer her to the bench. Alana sits beside her, heart rattling like a snare. They open with a piece Cassidy built from Alana's Portland rain chord map, but halfway through she modulates into uncharted minor territory, hands trembling. The room holds its breath. Alana flashes to Evan flailing in Green River water, panic at the edge of trust, and chooses risk over rescue. She slides off the bench, walks behind Cassidy, and places her palms lightly atop Cassidy's wounded hands, not to lead but to echo. Their 4 hands rise and fall together, shadowing intervals an octave apart. Cassidy steadies. The melody blooms into something bigger than either woman alone. Blue notes bending toward sunrise, grief transfiguring into brass sunlight. When the final chord fades, silence lingers for a long, trembling instant before the hall erupts. Board members wipe tears they'll later deny. Nurses trade looks of awe and surrender. Backstage, Marjorie pulls Alana aside. Her pearl necklace has been replaced with a simple silver treble clef pin. "I heard my daughter's color," she says, voice raw. "I think it was the first time since Olivia died that I truly heard her." She hands Alana a folded document. A private grant proposal named Harmony House West, a pilot center blending clinical rehab with creative arts, co-directed by Cassidy Blake and Alana Bennett, seed funding already approved. Alana's knees nearly give. "You trust us?" she asks. Marjorie answers, "I'm learning the tune." That night, Cassidy and Alana stand on the cliff road above the Pacific, surf thundering below, salt spray stitching their clothes to their skin. Cassidy runs her fingers over Alana's face as if brailing emotion. Eyebrow, temple, jaw, then cups her cheeks and kisses her with a certainty no policy can redact. Wind whips the sound away, but Alana hears the vow inside the silence. Whatever darkness comes, they will score it, play it, and chase the dawn together. Behind them, Seabright's windows glow like sheet music held to the sun, each lit pane a note in the symphony still unfolding. The music isn't finished. Tomorrow they'll face licensing boards, zoning permits, and the stubborn gravity of grief. But tonight they let the ocean applause drown every doubt. Alana whispers the color of the moon to Cassidy, silver turning peach on the rim, and Cassidy hums it back in a riff that promises Chapter 4 will not be a coda, but an overture to something larger than either ever dared imagine. August sunlight breaks over Monterey like cymbals, scattering gold across the bay and painting the stucco walls of Seabright in honeyed glow. 6 months have passed since Cassidy's boardroom concert cracked open the Institute's stiff facade. 6 months since Marjorie Blake's trembling signature pledged a fortune to a dream only half built. In that time, Harmony House West has become more than line items and architectural drawings. It is a skeleton of steel beams on Cannery Row, a symphony of hammers ringing over salt air. Every dawn Alana parks her rust-speckled sedan behind the fenced lot, hard hat askew on her curls, clipboard already smudged with coffee. She is no longer liability nurse but program director Bennett, juggling contractors, state inspectors, and the ever-ticking countdown to opening day. Her Oregon license is fully reinstated. Board cleared her after a marathon review, and California's reciprocity fast-tracked approval once Kingsley submitted outcome data. Patient engagement up 62%, depression scores down 40%. Cassidy arrives mid-morning wearing paint-streaked overalls and wraparound shades custom-etched with subtle tactile markings so she can adjust contrast settings herself. She taps through the half-framed corridors counting echo lengths, mapping acoustics before drywall muffles them. Where others see exposed wiring and drywall dust, she hears futures. Cello harmonics reverberating off cedar beams, teenage voices testing confidence in a recording booth, veterans tracing trauma into spoken-word verses. A crane lifts the final rooftop truss into place. Workers cheer. Alana wipes grit from her jawline, then reaches for Cassidy's hand, guiding her glove to the steel still vibrating with fresh torque. "That's the spine," she murmurs. "Feel it hum. By tomorrow the decking crew will make it sing." Cassidy's lips curve. "Key of G major, slightly sharp," she teases, then nods toward the street noise. "Any news from the zoning board?" "Signed off at 8:03. Alana can't resist a grin. "We are officially permitted for mixed medical and arts occupancy. First in Monterey County. But victories never travel alone." That afternoon Kingsley calls from Seabright, voice paper-thin. The Institute's budget is getting slashed. Without quick fundraising, their adaptive arts wing, born from Cassidy's influence, might shutter. Cassidy listens in silence. When the call ends, she passes the phone back to Alana, shoulders rigid. "I won't let the place that began my second life be amputated." "Then we save them too," Alana answers, already drafting a plan in her mind. 2 weeks later, Harmony House West hosts its first Sunblind Sessions fundraiser in an abandoned sardine warehouse turned pop-up stage. No blinking spotlights. Just strings of Edison bulbs and floor mics calibrated for tactile feedback. Seabright's residents fill the front row, white canes folding like wings across their knees. Marjorie Blake stands beside the donation kiosk, pearl studs swapped for simple wooden earrings carved into 16th notes. Alana is master of ceremonies, nerves thrumming. She opens with a story of Evan, how a boy who loved trains lost his voice in a system allergic to listening. She tells the crowd about Cassidy's broken hands finding rain-colored music, about wrong notes living, about second chances forged in metronome ticks. Each sentence braids data with pulse, spreadsheets with heartbeat. Cassidy follows, seated at a baby grand on loan, adaptive pedal rigged to her rehabilitated left foot. She signals Alana with a chin tilt. Together they launch into Listening for the Light, the piece born from Portland rain. Bass runs echo ocean swells. Treble flourishes flick sparks across warehouse rafters. Halfway through, drums slide in. Jordan, now Seabright's resident percussion aide, eyes closed, sticks mapping trauma into rhythm. A veteran named Rivas layers spoken-word verses about desert night skies too bright with flares. Each performer testifies to the crowd that healing is a chord progression, not a checklist. By encore's end, the donation counter displays 6 digits. The Seabright Arts Wing is safe another year. Harmony House's equipment budget fully funded. Cassidy raises her hands, still scarred, still shaking sometimes, and the audience answers with a silence so reverent it feels louder than applause. Fall arrives damp and briny. Completion day looms. But with 72 hours to final inspection, disaster strikes. A flash flood snarls traffic. A supplier's truck jackknifes on Highway 1, spilling crates of acoustic paneling into roadside mud. Without those panels, therapy rooms will fail decibel compliance, and the opening ceremony, 300 registered guests, must cancel. Alana's stomach knots. She calls every distributor within 200 miles. Nothing in stock. While she triages, Cassidy glides through partially finished halls trailing fingertips along plywood seams, listening for spaces no bureaucracy can quantify. She finds Alana by the freight door, phone clenched, knuckles white. "We'll open anyway," Cassidy says. "State regs." Panels absorb sound, but so can people. That night 50 volunteers, patients, nurses, Seabright staff, neighbors, form a human assembly line. Rivas and Jordan recruit a drum circle. Each percussion hit sets a tempo for hammer swing pairs cutting reclaimed cork offcuts into makeshift squares. Marjorie Blake's foundation couriers hemp fabric. By dawn, every therapy wall wears patchwork panels stitched with mismatched colors and hopeful fingerprints. They'll never pass an architect's aesthetic review, but they dampen echo within code. The inspector arrives midday expecting chaos, finds organized improvisation humming. He tests decibel levels, eyebrow climbing, then signs the occupancy certificate with a shrug. Never seen anything like it, but numbers don't lie. Opening morning. Gulls wheel overhead, early fog bleaching wharf pylons white. Guests gather under an arch of repurposed cello strings. Alana steps to the podium, voice steady. This place was born because someone dared to describe the color of rain to a woman who could no longer see it. Today, may every visitor leave knowing that silence is not absence, and darkness is only another canvas. The ribbon isn't silk but braided hospital bandages dyed indigo. Cassidy feels the knot, raises silver shears, and at Alana's whispered cue, gunmetal rimmed in gold snips. Music floods the atrium. A 12-bar blues riff in G major, slightly sharp, just as that roof beam once sang. Tours ripple through studios smelling of fresh paint and cedar oil. A Vietnam vet traces calligraphy grooves into clay. A teenage girl with dissociative disorder layers lo-fi samples into a soundtrack for grounding exercises. In the sensory quiet library, Mrs. Chen sits beside her son Marcus, who now speaks in essays, listening to ocean white noise loops he crafted from real tide recordings. Late afternoon, after the crowds thin, Alana and Cassidy steal to the rooftop garden where wind chimes made from surgical steel rods ring low harmonics. Sunset bleeds tangerine into Pacific blue. Cassidy tilts her head, measuring air warmth, and says, "Describe it." Alana wraps arms around her from behind, cheek against salt-damp hair. Horizon's a melted creamsicle, the clouds like torn parchment dipped in peach ink. Waves catch each color then drag it back to sea. Cassidy hums the palette in descending thirds. "One more color," she whispers. "Us," Alana answers without thinking. "We're the gradient between storm slate and sunrise pink. The part the sky saves for its bravest morning." Cassidy turns, locating Alana's mouth with practiced certainty. Their kiss carries none of the urgency of stolen hospital nights. It is slow, bright, anchored. When they part, Cassidy slips the metronome key from her neck, places it in Alana's palm, and closes the nurse's fingers around it. "Keep the tempo," she says. "I finally know the melody." Below, Harmony House West's windows glow like staff paper held to sunset, every lit room a note in the score still unfolding. There will be audits, grant renewals, nights when trauma songs crack voices raw, but the framework holds, a spine of steel and wrong notes living. Alana pockets the key, hears its tiny rattle against her heartbeat, and smiles. The music is nowhere near finished, but for the first time in either woman's memory, the end of a chapter feels less like a curtain and more like a door, propped open, inviting the next movement to walk right in.